Hello, Planet Perth. How are you going? How many of us have our own horror stories of audience participation? Those moments when you unwillingly become the focus of attention and you wish the ground would just open up and swallow you whole. Yeah, I feel you. So when I say, oh, from PVI Collective we make participatory artworks, I can smell the fear and sense people's apprehension. So what I was hoping to do today was to try to convince you that participation is not a dirty word, and it doesn't have to be a dreaded experience. I really believe audience participation can be made better use of in the arts and in the public sphere as a tool for social activation and creative disruption. This is a really boring diagram from 1969. But when I first saw it, I had this aha moment. It was created by a government policymaker called Sherry Arnstein as an open provocation to her bosses, i.e. politicians, to encourage them to be brutally honest about what they really meant when they used terms like civic engagement and participatory politics. Do they really want it? And how open are they to it really, if the end result is, what this diagram suggests, to relinquish their own power? If we take a closer look from my perspective, what we're looking at here from rungs 1 to 5 is an exercise in manufacturing consent. Our voices as citizens are either being placated or manipulated towards an already desired outcome. In other words, it's a one-way flow of power back to those who already have it. Now, I understand we've only really been experimenting with democracy for 3,000 years now. And okay, voting a few hundred years. But I feel compelled to ask, how is it we seem to be moving downwards in terms of our potential as critical citizenry in Australia? Why do we feel so disengaged and powerless? What would it actually take to properly experience these lovely rungs so we can develop a stronger sense of our own agency and capacity to enact change? I think we need to unpack what we mean by participation and get to grips with its various guises. This is PVI Collective's own ladder, made in response, a little bit more playful in design, but actually the end goal is the same. And our diagram is trying to identify ways in which audiences can participate in our artworks. I'd like to think we're somewhere between 5 and 6 at the moment, but number 7, that's ultimately what we're gunning for. So I'm hoping today that we can play test some scenarios together with regard to participation, look at some tactics, and start to think more broadly about the politics of engagement. So let's get a true sense of the absolute worst case scenario when we think about audience participation. And to do that, I'm thinking we need to start at the bottom of this ladder. Let's set the scene. Maybe the house lights go up suddenly and you're no longer feeling safe in the dark. Without warning, the speaker starts to step off the stage and comes to invade your territory. It's properly uncomfortable now. There might well be some nervous laughter. Then the front row finds out that one of you is going to have to step up on stage and hold my hand. To make matters worse, there's some kind of awful drum roll to heighten the tension. And the speaker goes silent until someone is selected. It's a hot one today, isn't it? Like 36 degrees. Watch the step. There you go. Thank you. Did you want to tell me your name?
My name? Leslie.
Leslie. You had to think about that, Leslie.
I had to think about whether I was going to tell you.
Oh, right. Okay. Could we have a round of applause for lovely Leslie here? Thank you. Thanks for doing that. That was actually really kind and generous of you. I haven't got much to offer you other than this seat over here, so you don't feel exposed. Did you want to sit down? Okay. I reckon it's the best seat in the house, so, you know, it's okay. So, in that scenario, there was participation, but was there any agency at all? Did Leslie have a choice in the matter? Did she have a right of refusal? Was there any joy in any of it, Leslie? No. And that's because I had all the power in that scenario. So how do we make it a more level playing field, away from forced participation towards a more empowered experience? Well, our solution is to invite our audiences to play. And I don't necessarily mean in a frivolous way. I think as adults, we can and should play with what frightens us. We can have serious play that investigates disaster capitalism and its future impact, freedom of expression and the occupation of public space, new forms of protest, enacting participatory democracy, refugee policy, the loss of privacy, mass consumption and the challenges of recycling. The potential is so rich and diverse. Play predates democracy. It's pre-human even. And when we play, we learn to behave and misbehave in new ways. We see things differently, construct new meanings, solve problems, and stretch reality. For us, play is our weapon of choice for those reasons, but also because it invites participation in a way that can be challenging, but seriously fun. And nobody is going to want to join the revolution unless it's the most joyful experience around. How am I going, Leslie? Thank you. Did you want to sit back down?
Love to.
Yeah, come on. You're a bit exposed up there. Thank you to Leslie. So how do we enact participation in a way that is fun and challenging here? How do I invite 1,700 people to participate in a TED Talk? Well, I could start by sharing the playing field over here and taking away some of the mystery of what's up on this stage. Over here is our onstage camera person with a live feed. And if I could get you just to swing that camera around. This is our view from over here. And can I see the clock? Oh, this is the countdown clock that I'm trying not to freak out about. So now we all know how much time we have together and can feel it ticking away. So I guess the next challenge would be to see if we can shift the balance of power away from over here, back in your direction. To do that, I need to not be framed as the expert talking to you and at you from a position of authority. In fact, my voice could be the most radical vehicle to give over control of. What if TED didn't talk? What if the audience did? So here's my proposition, as a means to invite you into this process as creative comrades today. I've got some closing thoughts that I wanted to share with you, but the decision is going to be yours as to whether or not you want to hear them. If you want to hear me continue, you can raise your hand on my signal and shout out the word yes. If you don't want me to continue, then we'll remain in silence for the remainder of the talk. But that's okay, because maybe you can use that time to imagine what you would like to say up here or what you need to hear today. So we've got some volunteers who are going to help me do a head count. Okay, we're ready to do this. So unless we have 100% consensus with 1,700 hands in the air, we're going to sit in that silence. Are we ready? Okay, let's do this. Wow, that was much quicker than I thought. Thank you. Thanks, guys. So for me, participation should really be about generosity. You just showed me yours, so thank you very much. it's much easier to choose not to engage when the role of power is to constantly persuade us in the utter futility of our actions. But if we take a sideways step into the arts, whose purpose is to effect change and imagine new possibilities, and if that step empowers us generously, then my theory is that it can embolden our actions and behaviour in our daily lives. We will always outnumber the so-called experts, and our collective voices will always be more powerful. Thank you for playing with me today, and thank you to Leslie as well. Thanks, guys.